Well, this next match was certainly fresh because I got a real good whiff of it. And I'm going to say this right now. This is it. This is not even part of the normal hyperbolic entertainment part of the programming here on the Experience. This was one of the worst matches I have ever seen on wrestling television. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. And I can't believe that it went on. If there are, and I know they have agents and producers, including some well-respected veterans. I believe we've heard Jerry Lynn is there, Pat Buck's around, right? If they have producers or agents, this fucking guy that I'm about to tell you about didn't listen to any of them. If this was the match that was planned, whoever planned it should be fired. If this was not the match that was planned, and I can't believe it is, and with 40-something years experience in the wrestling business, I'm pretty sure that nobody wanted this match to happen this way, then Rush ought to be fired. But if anybody wants to go back and look at this now from the viewpoint of me telling you that if this match had happened 30 years ago, it would have instigated a fight, either a shoot fight in the middle of the ring or a shoot fight in the locker room immediately after it was over with amongst the participants. And I can't believe that even in this company of modern thinking individuals, that anybody was happy in the back when they saw this on the monitor. This was the most egregious example I've ever seen of a motherfucker taking advantage of a guy who doesn't know any better and couldn't do anything about it if he did. And that person was Jungle Boy.
Look, if I could stop you before you get to the review, do you think Jungle Boy deserves any of the blame here?
No. I think that Rush is a complete idiot. I think he is convinced that he is somehow a star, and whether he is in Mexico or not, he has not been presented that way here. I think that furthermore, he is an unprofessional prick. I think that if, as I said 30 years ago, if this match happened, he would have got the shit kicked out of him either in the ring or in the locker room by the guy he was doing it to. But as I said, it's Jungle Boy. And while I don't know that Jungle Boy fully realizes how bad that Rush fucked him like just a complete bitch here, but let's face it, he wouldn't have been able to do anything about it if he had. Not in the ring or not in the locker room afterwards. Because look at Rush and look at Jungle Boy. But the fact that this guy Rush was not immediately asked to leave the premises and never return again after this fucking display indicates that the veterans in the company have no power and nobody listens to them. And the fucking people that do have the pull don't even know what they're fucking looking at. Rush took a shit on Tony Khan's face right here on his own national television program. Jungle Boy is one of the challengers for the world title in a four-way coming up on pay-per-view. Rush is a nobody. And he kicked the shit out of this kid, not only in a wrestling way, but in a demeaning, he did everything he could but piss in his mouth.
He almost broke his neck, it looked like, at one point.
Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. The Lucha guys cannot have a match by the rules to begin with. They're on the floor for minutes at a time. They bury the referee. Their matches psychologically are the shits, all of them. And that includes Penthouse and Felix and all the rest of them. Because, to be honest, in their defense, nobody gives a shit in Mexico. It's complete chaos, and it's a cultural institution, but nobody's looking at the rules down there anymore. And nobody even attempts to make it look like matches anymore. But it doesn't make sense here in this environment. That's why their matches are always mostly the shits to begin with. But having said that, whatever style they were working, whether it was modern or indie or lucha or territory or whatever, Rush kicked the shit out of this fucking guy. for most of this match from the start. And not only that, but acted like it wasn't much trouble to do it. And then they went to the break, and during the picture-in-picture, I was fascinated. I couldn't look away from even that little box. Rush took him out and beat his ass in the arena, over the rail and out in the crowd after the previous match. There was no need after the previous match that ended up in the landscaping out front for these guys during a commercial break to go out in the arena, but Rush had job face on. He didn't want to be putting this guy over to begin with, I'm sure. He probably is pissed off that they don't see his brilliance and are not pushing him to the moon. So he decided to go into business for himself, and he's going to do whatever he needs to do to get over. And because the Lucha guys lean that way to begin with, he don't care. And he got juice on Jungle Boy. Then he got juice on him. And I'm pretty goddamn sure that wasn't planned. Because why? With this fucking... So he somehow, while he's rattling him around in the arena, also manages to bust Jungle Boy's head open. Not much. Pap smear level, but he's still bleeding. And Jungle Boy needs some iron in his blood also. Blood that bright red, he needed iron. And also it was not a deep cut. The deeper the cut.
And aspirin.
Well, no, I'm telling you, no, he didn't get juice on purpose, I'm pretty sure. And goddamn, nobody called for this. Because why would you? This fucking unknown fucking Mexican guy getting juice on the goddamn challenger to the world title on a pay-per-view. Which was back to the whole problem with this thing. But he's bleeding somewhat. And he's getting the shit kicked out of him. Jungle Boy comes out of the corner with a clothesline. And Rush not only no-sold it, didn't even register it, and then scoffed at it and brushed it off with his hand off his chest. And then when finally old Jungle Jack gets the opportunity to fire up, instead of making a good wrestling comeback and bumping this guy around, they sit up on the ropes, on the turnbuckles, wobbling around and chopping each other, trying to set up a Hurricane Rana. So Jungle Boy got his comeback was bleh. Then he gets his snare trap on, and Rush gets to the ropes and foils that. And then they get on the apron. Where was it where he grabbed his dick? I didn't even write down the dick grab because my mouth was open. Jungle Boy's firing up on his fucking guy, and they're staring at each other. I mean, it might have been one of the chop trades, and Rush just reaches down and grabs Jungle Boy's dick. And the announcers were so flummoxed that Taz had to say something like, well, there was a cup check there, but I don't know where that came from, or something like that. So then they get on the apron, and Rush licks Jungle Boy's blood, wipes the blood off his head and licks his own hand. No-sells Jungle Boy's chops and belly-to-belly overhead threw Jungle Boy off the apron flat to the floor. Because this fucking kid's an idiot. He's going to paralyze himself for this fucking jobber?
That was the one that got me to jump out of my chair and go, ooh, because it was so close. And again, he has a lot of hair, so you don't know when you're watching it happen in real time how close, but that looked dangerously close.
But then, and like I'm saying, nobody cleared this match. If there was an agent that cleared this match, they should be terminated immediately. It had to be Rush going into business for himself. And then after he did that, he poses for the cameras like he's the star, rolls Jungle Boy in and covers him with a foot on his chest and got a 2 count with a foot on the kid's chest. And then he mauled him some more and then turned around and shoved the referee, and Jungle Boy got a schoolboy 1, 2, 3. That's the way he won. Let me just say this also. The only chance this is not the agent's fault is that if Rush pitched the bitch about doing the job and it had to be done this way, or elsewise he wasn't going to have the match, and Tony Khan said, well, we need to have the match because I booked it, then it's not the agent's fault. if the agent went to Tony Khan and said, well, here's what this no good, low-life piece of shit motherfucker wants to do to this kid on television and ahead of your pay-per-view, how bad do you want me to beat him up? And Tony said, no, let him do it. Then that takes the heat off the fucking agent. Otherwise, fuck whoever it may be, even if he's a friend of mine. And then after Jungle Boy schoolboyed him, Rush gets back up and starts back on him to get heat. And this Preston Vance character gets in the ring with Rush, and
how about those punches?
He made it worse. It's like you told some guy from the fucking parking garage, hey, you want to come in and imitate wrestling moves. The fakest looking, awkward kicks and blows, and then they're trying to tie a rope around his neck, Jungle Boy, and choke him. And they can't figure out how to. Neither one of them was a Boy Scout, I guess. And then Darby hits the ring, music and everything, and they shut him down immediately. He didn't even get to fucking punch anybody. When the babyface hits the ring, you're supposed to feed him. Bam, he's going to nail you. Bam, he nails you. Bam, he nails the other guy. Boom, he drop kicks that guy, but he's coming up. He turns it, bam, the elbow, and now the numbers. They just glommed him. One tackle pancake. And they're beating him up. And then here comes Sammy. And then they let Darby up, and then he and Darby made a comeback together. Preston Vance is embarrassing. That's business killing level, awkward, bad, phony shit.
Yeah, maybe get QT off TV and have him work with his students on everything.
Is that a student of QT's?
I was led to believe that. I'll double check. I thought he was.
Okay, well, in that case, then there's a good reason to fire QT Marshall. If I was Tony Khan, I would fire fucking QT. I'd hire QT's parents so I could fire him for having him that led to that. So anyway, I got mad for Jungle Boy here. I was pissed. I wasn't happy. I wasn't laughing. I wasn't going, oh, look what he's doing now. I got hot that somebody could be allowed to get away with doing something like this to a fucking guy in that spot on that big a TV. And I guarantee you, I bet nobody said a goddamn word to Rush. I would have had his shit laying out in the rain by the time he got back from the ring. Fuck this fucking guy. And that's what I said. If this was one of the territories where guys' money depended on how they drew and how they were perceived by the fans, I don't think they would have got out of the ring without having a fight, but there would have been one in the locker room immediately afterwards, and people would have already been running to pull it apart before they even got back there. That's how obvious this was. And you can scoff all you want, but I've seen guys, good God, the fucking Spivey and Sid beat that fucking guy up in Texas for much less than this. And we were running after him because we knew it was going to happen when it was still happening in the ring. We knew what was going to happen in the locker room. And that wasn't nearly as bad as this.
Well, Jim, I have a clarification here. I found an interview or a quote from from Preston Vance. I started at the Monster Factory in New Jersey in 2015. QT was one of the assistant coaches there, and that's where I met him. He's been my coach since the very first time I ever stepped in the ring. QT was there.
This guy has just admitted that he has been in and or around the wrestling business for 8 fucking years. And right now, at almost 62 years old, with one ACL, another reconstructed, 2 former hernia surgeries, a bad neck, a bad shoulder, a bad back, and a bad hip, and a fucking bunion, I can work better than Preston Vance, and I will fucking prove that.
What? How you going to prove that?
I will prove that if Preston Vance wants to challenge me, I'll go 3 minutes with anybody and do a better 3 minutes than fucking him.
Come on. I don't think legal will clear that.
I'm just saying, for 3 minutes, I could fucking have a better match than Preston Vance as I sit here right now.
According to this same quote here, who else was there at the Monster Factory when he was there? Damian Priest, Matt Riddle, and Nick Comoroto.
Well, boy, in that case, he's number 5 in a 4-horse race, is Preston Vance.
I watched this match the first time on mute because I had other things going on. Then I went back and watched it, and somehow I didn't hear everything on there, obviously. But the first time I watched it was on mute, and I actually thought, wow, they realize that Jungle Boy's really not pulling this off right now. They're making a switch. Tony's doing something. You mentioned, is he a gambler before? He's making a gamble here. I'm going to get Jungle Boy out of this shit. It's not working. Rush, or Roosh, who looks impressive, is twice the size of Jungle Boy, and he's not a big guy. They were having him just kill Jungle Boy here. They're going to put him in that match. But then I watched it with the commentator and realized that wasn't it at all.
And the commentators are trying to fucking figure out a way on the fly to explain why the guy that's getting his ass handed to him is in the main event at the pay-per-view, and the other guy we haven't seen wrestle here in 6 months.
We haven't seen this guy at all. He comes out there, he's got his assistant, Preston Vance, who's associated with them. Again, we see embarrassing forearms and punches all the time. Omega and Moxley can't do it. Despite how over they are with their fans, they can't do that. But what he did there, wow. I was about to make an insult, and I realized it's actually true. I was going to say, that's Dark Order bad. He was in the fucking Dark Order.
He was that's right. He was. Well, there you go. This is a whole nother level of dark and bad.
But I want to see, I'm ready to see more Roosh. This guy's great. I watched that. I was like, this guy's a star. He's just killing this guy.